Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a brand new edition of the Midnight Podcast. First ever video broadcast edition. We're always doing firsts. When it comes to Brenton Foale, we're always doing firsts. Last time it was the live stream, and now we're doing video broadcasting where you can see us up close and in person. Ladies and gentlemen, happy Halloween, by the way. Happy Halloween. October 31st, Wednesday night, we are coming to you, and tonight, boy, do we have a lot to talk about. Brenton, how are you, buddy?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. I don't know if it's a good thing that people can actually see me, but anyway. Hello to all your viewers out there. But yeah, it's good, man. Yeah, we did last time. It was a live podcast, mobile to mobile. What were we doing? 3 hours or something? 4 hours or something that night. And tonight's the video podcast. Yeah, cool. So yeah,
we're gonna have people messaging us throughout the night. So feel free. Any questions you have, we can answer them. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited for this one. Not because you get to see my Brad Pitt looks. I'm excited because we get to talk about all sorts of things. Ghost stories, aliens. Mate, you spot a UFO? Mate, there's a lot of them out there. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff. So, hey, get the popcorn, sit down, and you're going to love this. Love it. How should we get started? How should we start this Halloween edition of the Midnight Podcast? Well, Brenton has a story for you all in regards to UFOs. Brenton, take it away.
Thanks, mate. I think I've had three encounters now. So when I was a little kid, first of all, when I was a little kid living in Adelaide, my father, he used to try and educate us boys, because I was the eldest of three boys. I don't think my youngest brother was born then, so it was probably just Matthew and myself. But my father used to try and educate us on astronomy, naming the planets and pinpointing them and all the rest of it. And one night he asked us, he said, "Oh, where's Venus?" And I pointed to, because Venus is is the brightest planet. You've got Alpha Centauri is the brightest star apart from our sun. And I pointed to what I thought was Venus. And my father said, no, Venus is the other direction. I said, well, what's that? Anyway, we watched this light, and it was getting bigger. Now remember, this was mid to late 70s. It would have been late 70s. And so we drove down to the beach where there was no ambient light, and we watched this thing, and eventually the whole car apparently was engulfed in light. My parents reminded me of that a few years back, that the whole car was just engulfed in light, and then it was gone. So that was the first encounter. Second encounter, or second sighting of something was just a few years ago, and there was what I thought was a satellite. And you can see satellites all the time, they're always orbiting the Earth. They just look like a star that's moving slowly against the rest of the stars. If you don't look for them, you won't see them. Anyway, I was watching one, and it did a 90-degree turn, and I thought, well, that was pretty interesting, and I called my father up, and I said to him, look, do satellites turn? He said, no. I said, well, you know, they don't do a 90-degree? This was a 90-degree turn. He said, no. He said, satellites will change through elliptical orbits, but they won't do a complete 90. And I confirmed this with some scientists I've got on Facebook who actually work with NASA. They said, no, satellites don't turn. But this one actually did a 90-degree turn. It was traveling, stopped, and then did a 90-degree turn. So that was kind of cool. So I reckon that was definitely a visitor, because we didn't have anything else that could have done that, and it was too high for a drone. But only a few weeks ago, I was in the out the front of my house, and I'm not far from South Beach here in Perth, and this light was traveling across the sky, and you know, it was night time. It was this thing, was an orange light. Anyway, it was coming, you know, in a straight direction, and then another thing came zipping up along behind it and dancing, and it would fall back, and then it'd catch up again and fall back and catch up again. And that was a smaller light, but the smaller light ended up disappearing, and the original light, the first one, continued past my house over the roof, you know, and there was ambient light from behind, you know, from the neighbourhoods and the hills and everything behind my house, enough to shine some light onto this thing. And it was actually a cylindrical object. Whatever it was a cylindrical object. On my Facebook, I actually uploaded the video of it. I raced inside when I saw it, and when I saw these lights, raced inside, grabbed my video camera and came outside and started filming. So yeah, it was pretty cool. We're definitely not alone though. There's definitely something out there. You know, would be. You know, there are a lot of people who say, oh, no, we're the only planet that's inhabited. But when you think about it, there's 9 planets in our solar system, including Pluto, which I don't know if that's still classed as a planet, or if it's gone, if it was classed as a rogue planet because it orbited the wrong way. And now I think they reclassed it back as a planet. But that's only one solar system. You've got... Every star out there is a whole different solar system, and each one of them's got planets around it. So you know, law of averages is that we've definitely got, you know, there's definitely got to be something out there. And yeah, so I mean, we could talk about Roswell, we could talk about the Phoenix lights, we can talk about everything, man. I've actually seen NASA videos. They're hiding it because there's objects that they've seen when they've been out there on their missions. You know, they've been in the shuttles and satellites and all that stuff, and they'll actually see the objects. And if you look on YouTube, you'll see them. They've been uploaded, but what they've done is they will hide if there's any chance. You know, if they see a UFO, they'll actually put part of their body in the way. They'll put their head in the way of the camera. They'll put a hand in the, you know, gloved hand in front of the camera to stop us from seeing the UFOs. But they're definitely there. So yeah.
I remember, Brenton, when I went to Chatty with a couple of mates, and this was in 2006. This was into my second season of Oakley, which we were producing, the television show that was on Channel 31. And we took a break because we were tired from shooting all night, and we're just chilling outside Chadston. And my mate Cement, his name was Cement. When I first met him, I used to call him Cement. And then everyone was like, dude, it's not cement, it's cement. Top bloke. He was shuffling. He was just dancing. I guess he was excited to go on break from, from fucking doing scenes. And I saw something up in the sky, man. And at the time, man, you had those 3G phones, the flip ones. So the quality's shit house. And I've got it somewhere and I'm going to play it. I go up and I see this, like a circular shape. Like it's sort of like a circle. And it was flashing. And I'm thinking to myself, and this was in 2006. Anyway, they've been around long before then. Yonks ago. And I saw it and I said to myself, and mind you, I didn't do any research back then, but I knew that wasn't a plane or a helicopter. At the time, I don't think drones were really introduced to the public as they are now. We can get a drone with a remote control and go up there. It's probably some kid in someone's backyard, But this wasn't a drone. If it was, it's a pretty motherfucking big drone. So I got it and I got the footage and... my gosh, man, it had to be a UFO. I couldn't identify it. It was an unidentified object. And I remember once I was going to Adelaide. And as I was going to Adelaide, we're about to pull up at Adelaide. And away from the highway, I see another, flashing light. It was not in the shape of a helicopter, not in the shape of a plane. And I'm thinking, holy fucking shit. So I've had a couple of encounters. I haven't seen any more, I don't get out too much, but my gosh, man, it's crazy stuff. It's absolutely crazy. And you know what, man, ever since then, I've been doing a lot of research, and we've got Gully 581. Now that planet can sustain life, and it's not too far away from Earth. It's actually the closest to Earth compared to all the others. And look, man, with so many planets out there, there's so many. It goes on and on. The universe is infinity. And to think that there's no other life form out there apart from us on Earth, anyone who thinks that, I'd say they're pretty ignorant. Because, we can't just be the only species. On Earth, we have ants, we have spiders, we have so many things. If it can sustain life elsewhere, who's to say there's nothing else elsewhere? And Area 51, we all know about it. It's been, quote unquote, debunked as being just a military base where they test things. But other people have also said it can be where they're storing spacecrafts, some sort of alien life. So, yeah, man, I don't know. Well, why is it that when you walk close, one of my friends walked close to Area 51, he couldn't get close enough. They were telling him to back off. People in the sky, helicopters telling him to back off. Others on the ground were going to shoot him. Over what? What's in there that's so serious where they'd shoot you dead? Yeah, so... people that don't believe, I think you have to have an open mind when it comes to stuff like that, because who really knows? Who really knows? I tell you what, though, one day, if they do appear, everyone's gonna shit their dacks.
Yeah, well, Area 51, of course, was Roswell, New Mexico. And there were reports that something had crashed there in, I think it was the 1950s, and they had there was metal that was salvaged from there, and apparently it was very light metal, almost like foil, but when it was crumpled up, it would uncrumple itself. So whatever that was, man, it wasn't from our Earth. We haven't got anything like that to my knowledge. But I mentioned the Phoenix Lights before. Now the Phoenix Lights, while you were talking, I just pulled it up on the internet. So the Phoenix Lights were a series of widely sighted unidentified flying objects observed in the skies over the US state of Arizona, in Nevada, and the Mexican state of Sonora on March 13th, 1997. So we're talking before drones were invented, I think. They were lights of varying descriptions, and they were seen by thousands of people between 7:30 and 10:30 at night. So you're talking a 3-hour period there. And it was this went for about 300 miles or 480 kilometers from the Nevada line through Phoenix to the edge of Tucson. There were two distinct events involved in the incident: a triangular formation of lights seen to pass over the state. And this is all on the internet. You can look this stuff up. It's been documented on the internet. And a series of stationary lights were also seen in Phoenix area. Now, remember I mentioned what I thought was a satellite doing a 90-degree turn. It stopped. It became stationary, and then it turned. It didn't just do a zip turn, these things, they're not just moving. They can sit there stationary. They'll hover, The United States Air Force identified the second group of lights. They reckon it was flares, but witnesses say that they were definitely not flares. They reckon that they observed a huge, what they call a carpenter's square. So you're talking, I'll show you a picture. I don't know if you can see it. That's what people were observing, right? So that's definitely not flares, man. It had 5 spherical lights of or possibly light-emitting engines. Fife Symington, who was the governor at the time, was one of the witnesses to the incident. So we're not talking people who were uneducated or anything like that. We're talking witnesses who have some sort of credence behind them. Now, these lights came back again in 2007 and then 2008. The military keeps trying to cover them up, and that's what they did with New Mexico. They've got, there's something there, most Air Force bases and all the rest of it, you can actually visit an Air Force base. I've visited Air Force bases. You just sign in and get a pass, and you go in and you're free to roam around as long as you don't take photos in there. So why would Area 51 be any different? And why is it not on a map? Apparently it's not on a map. It's just marked as no-go zone or whatever. Why isn't it marked as a particular Air Force base?
They're definitely hiding something in Area 51. 100%. No, not 100%, 1,000%. And look, here in Melbourne, we had the Westall UFO sighting. We had Roswell. Yeah. Look, I got it up here. Let me just get my glasses. I hate wearing glasses, but when you have to read, you need glasses. So in so that was the Roswell 1947. And the Westall was, let me have a good read. Hold on. So the Westall UFO encounter, let's get the date correct. 1966. And I tell you what, if we can have 2 sightings and so many others, and we're going back, Roswell was way back, and they're still happening now. It amazes me, Brenton, how the government has been able to cover it up for so long, especially now, man. Like back then, didn't really, have cell phones which did any sort of quality, video photos at all. Now we do, and more stuff is coming out, but it makes you wonder. How. That's the thing. they feed off of how society acts and reacts and how they think. They're confident as all fuck that majority of society don't believe in this shit. So the majority of society is their own worst enemy, because it's an open and shut case when it comes to what society thinks. So why does the government have to, do anything? Government has it easy. All they have to do is protect Area 51 and that's it. Most people I know don't believe in aliens. It's very incredible how the government can, push certain news outlets a certain narrative and put independent news out there, and get government, to come forward and, make like press releases, and people buy this shit. They buy it hook, line, and sinker. And that's all they got to do. And the society, they do the rest. They convince themselves there's nothing out there. I'm certain there is. If you can't give me a logical reason why you can't go into Area 51, then they're hiding something in there. Whether it's an extraterrestrial that has passed away and they've caught it, or they've killed it and they've brought it in and they've got it, in a display somewhere, or not a display, I would imagine like a vault or some shit. Whether it's a spacecraft as well, but they're hiding something. I refuse to believe that it's all to do with military and, like confidential stuff, and you just can't go in there. There's more to it. And I believe the president has a section where all the files are, where there's a UFO section, an alien section. Obama, he hinted it, jokingly, because you can get away with that. But I'll tell you what, I would love to be the president or someone close to the president and to have access to those files. Because I tell you what, I would love to know what the go is.
Well, for years the government, particularly the American government, have been hiding information about UFOs and stuff like that. Going back as far as 1943, you might have heard of the Philadelphia experiment or the USS Eldridge. It was a destroyer escort, and it was part of an experiment at the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It took place somewhere around October 28th, 1943. So the government, somehow they got this technology to render their ship invisible to radar, but it was also, it actually rendered the ship invisible completely. And they made a movie about it, and there might have been some fiction involved in the film to make it, Hollywood does that, but the results of the experiment, some of it caused the death of some of the sailors, and some of the sailors were fused to the hull. If it was just a case of some radar detection thing, so you couldn't see it by radar, the sailors would not have been fused to the hull. It would not have killed sailors. But the Navy claim it never took place, and yet there were documents on it, and there were witnesses that were there. A guy by the name of Morris K. Jessup wrote all about it. He was an astronomer. He got the information from what's the guy's name? A guy who identified himself as Carlos Miguel Allende, and he witnessed the experiment take place. Now, apparently, from what I understand, this was supposed to have been some technology that was passed to whoever decided to use it. It's alien technology, man. But I remember seeing something very recently, because I started researching a lot in about the Bermuda Triangle and shit like that recently, and someone who was involved in reporting about the Philadelphia experiment, he had all the documents there, and he was writing. It could have been Jessup, it could have been Miguel, Allende, whatever his name was, but while he was working, someone actually shot him through his study window, his office window, and murdered him. To obviously to silence him. His documents all disappeared. So I don't know, man. There's definitely, the government just want to hide everything. I mean, shit, Spielberg was right back in the 70s when he did Close Encounters of the Third Kind. The government hide everything. They don't want us to know about it because it would just cause, it would cause panic. It would cause, we'd be panicking about it, and also, for many years, from the 1950s through to recently. It was all about the space race. I mean, 1950s through the 70s was the space race. 1969, of course, first man on the moon. You've got, Mercury astronauts who were the first American astronauts into space. They were beaten by Yuri Gagarin, the Russian cosmonaut who he went out there. And they were but it was all about the space race. So they probably didn't want to have anything possibly interfering with their race to dominate space. I don't know. Whatever their reason, they can't silence us all. Those who have seen the lights and all the rest of it, they can't silence us. Like I said, I've seen at least 3. I reckon I've seen more. There was another incident. I was sitting, it was only dusk. I was sitting on the front porch when I was living in Ferntree Gully, and there was a hill in the distance, and above the hill this light came up and hovered above the hill, and then it disappeared. Had it been sort of right on the crest of the hill, I would have said it was car headlights, but this was above the hill. It wasn't a plane or anything like that. Because it disappeared. So yeah.
Joe Rogan has an amazing podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience. If you haven't checked it out, Brenton, check it out. It's fucking wicked. And speaking of, the moon landing, Joe Rogan thought they faked the whole thing. Later on, he reckons, okay, they did go to the moon, but how did they record it exactly? If you see the footage, and we're professional filmmakers, I'm as close to professional as they're going to come. I do it more as a hobby. Channel 31's professional, technically, but not like you. Legit film producer, theatrical trailers and all, going into cinemas. However, I've got a pretty good knack, and you've got a tremendous knack, and we know when we see footage if it's legit or it's not. And Joe Rogan questioned the moon landing footage, as being fake. It's almost like you got strings holding them up to, mimic the way they would be in space. So who knows? Maybe they did go to the moon. Maybe they didn't. But maybe they did. But how do you get footage at that time when they did it all the way up there and so perfectly done? Like seriously perfectly done. Check out the podcast of his. He's mentioned it a few times and you'll know exactly what I mean. Others will too if they've seen it. And government, man. That smells government cover-up to the max. So government, you can't trust them. You can't trust them with that. You can't trust them with aliens and UFOs. And you sure as hell can't trust them with anything else. That's just how it is. That's how it's always been.
Well, if my father sees this, he'd probably disown me if I was to say that that they didn't land on the moon. I actually believe they did land on the moon. A lot of people, a lot of conspiracy theorists would say, it was what's his name, Stanley Kubrick. And they say, a lot of them say, Stanley Kubrick did it because he, the same year he released 2001: A Space Odyssey. And, of course, part of that film was going to the moon where they discovered the monolith in a buried underground that had been there, this man-made or this alien-made contraption. Wasn't a natural contraption that was there and had been buried there for millions of years, apparently. But they I don't believe that Kubrick had anything to do with it. I don't believe that it was faked. The footage, look, I think that they had, they would have had decent cameras. They would have filmed it pretty well. But ask yourself why they never went back to the moon. Why did they, or if they did go back to the moon, why didn't they? This is the big question. It's not so much did they, it's why didn't they go back? Popular theory is that there's actually an alien base on the dark side of the moon, which is the side of the moon we can't see. I don't know if that's true. I've only found out about that recently. I don't know if it's true. I don't know if there's where that's originated from or who even came up with that idea. But hey, look, it's nice to think about. Other people said that, the moon is too large to be a satellite for the Earth, as in it's too large to maintain its orbit, and yet there it is. It's technically it should have decayed its orbit and crashed into the Earth, but it hasn't. So why hasn't it? It's interesting to think about. But yeah, there's always going to be conspiracy theories about everything. There's conspiracy theories about the moon landing, and that's where the idea for that film and book, Capricorn 1, which was late 70s, I think that film came out. Really good film, where they were going to Mars, I think. They were supposed to travel to Mars, and they realised that during the countdown, just before takeoff, blast off, whatever, they discovered that there was an issue with the rocket, but because the the president was losing interest in the space race, he decided, he just sent a vice president. The president himself couldn't be bothered going, so rather than lose billions of dollars or millions of dollars, whatever it costs to send a spaceship into space, they decided to send a empty rocket up there, and they took the astronauts, 3 astronauts, to some hangar where they had set up what was supposed to look like the surface of Mars. Had a dusty-looking cyclorama in the background. Us filmmakers, if we had seen their footage, we would have gone, no, that's fake. But they had the signal. They were sending. They were filming from a simulator and everything, and sending the footage. And someone who worked in NASA realized there was a problem. They were running numbers, and the signals were coming from 300 miles away, not wherever, whatever the distance it should have been was. And these they'd gone to a journalist friend of theirs and said to him, look, something's wrong. There's no way it could be the if they're in the space capsules or the rockets or whatever, there's no way they could be transmitting from only 300 miles away. So they're traveling through, they're out in this hangar, they're in this studio, whatever, and the guy from NASA who discovered the problem, he gets bumped off. And then they're trying to bump off the astronauts, and the reason they were trying to bump off the astronauts is because upon re-entry, the space capsule burnt up and got destroyed. So all 3 of them were technically dead. So they had to silence them. They couldn't have them miraculously showing up. So the 3 astronauts escaped where they were, and they were hunted down by NASA, and 2 of them got killed. But yeah, it was a good film, well worth watching. If you're right into the conspiracy theories, it was well worth watching. There's conspiracy theories about Kennedy. Well, that's one. Whoops, that's one conspiracy theory that I actually buy into. I don't believe that Oswald shot him. I believe he was. I believe Oswald was set up on that one. But he was. I reckon he was murdered by the government. Whatever reason. What else is there? There's the conspiracy theory, of course, about 9/11, the 2 towers. I mean, I've seen videos where where the conspiracy theorists have said, look, you can see a bomb underneath. There was no bomb underneath them. But I think what it was, the only conspiracy theory that I buy into there is that the government actually knew of a terrorist plot. But in that situation, how do you actually, if you don't know when it's going to happen, how do you handle it? Marilyn Monroe, of course, who they reckon had committed suicide. I reckon she was silenced because she was sleeping with JFK, and I reckon she was silenced because she had he would have told her a lot of stuff, and they didn't want her leaking anything out. There's also conspiracy theories going back to as far as, what was it, 1914, I think it was, when the Titanic sunk. People are claiming it wasn't the Titanic and all that stuff. So, there's always going to be conspiracy theories. Whether you want to buy into them or not, I don't know.
those conspiracies, mate, we've got enough to make a whole series of it, mate. Now, the 9/11, you know, the moon landing. Heck, Princess Diana, Michael Jackson, Kennedy. The list goes on and on. There's so many. So many. It's fucked up. The government, man. The American government. It's pretty evil, man. It's pretty evil. All right, ghost stories, Brenton. What do you got for me? I got one. I don't have many. I got one or two, but one I remember really well. Fuck, I'll never forget it.
It was a dark, stormy night. No, I'm only kidding. Ghost stories, yeah. Okay, so I've had a few encounters with ghosts over the years. And people will say that ghosts don't exist. Energy, as we know, is constant. We're taught that in high school physics. Energy is constant. We are energy, and when we die, whether you believe in the afterlife, if you believe in heaven, hell, all that stuff, purgatory, if you believe in if you're Muslim and you believe that you're going to die and end up with 7 virgins or something, I don't know, whatever. That's neither here nor there. But energy is constant, and something has to happen, whether it's your spirit or what, I don't know. But first time I encountered a ghost, or what I believe was a ghost, I was still married to my ex-wife. My kids were only little, and they were asleep in their room. Look, my ex-wife and I separated when my kids were 2 and 3, so my kids would have been about maybe 1 and 2, something like that. Anyway, I was in the lounge room. I was watching TV. Amanda, my ex-wife, she was in the kitchen. I didn't know she was in the kitchen, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw a white figure walking down the corridor, down the hallway towards my kids' room, and I thought it was my ex-wife. So I've called out to her. I said, "Where are you going?" And she's called back. She was in the kitchen, like I said. I didn't know she was in there. She's called back and she said, "What are you talking about?" "I'm right here, I'm making you a coffee." I said, "Well, weren't you in the hallway?" And she said, "No." It was a tall, would have been about 5'10", would have been about the same height as me. Which is why I thought it was my ex-wife, because she was about the same height. And it was humanoid in shape. And it walked down the hallway. I honestly thought it was my ex-wife. And then, we investigated. Nothing was there. And we were very close to a really old cemetery. There was this really old cemetery that in the area. This was in Lalor in Melbourne, but there was a cemetery, and some of the headstones went back about 200 years. So it was an early settlers cemetery, and it was quite interesting. Very unkept. I don't know that anyone had ever tended. I don't think anyone ever tended to the cemetery anymore. Everything was falling apart. It was really creepy. I'm living in Perth now, but I'd love to go back there and investigate it. Take video cameras in there, set them up at night, all that sort of stuff, doing investigation, because it was just a really, really interesting cemetery, and even if there's nothing there, I reckon it'd be really good for a film shoot, because geez, it's an abandoned cemetery. So that was the first time, and then my ex-wife and I, we separated in '96, and a couple of years after we separated, so we're talking about 98, 99, something like that. A girlfriend of mine at the time, her two kids, it was 98, her two kids and my two kids, we just, and us two, we decided to go to Adelaide for a holiday. We drove from Melbourne to Adelaide and back, but I went to a restaurant in Adelaide that, because I grew up in Adelaide, this was a really nice restaurant. It's called the Barn Restaurant. I don't know what town it's in. It's outside Adelaide. It took a little while to get there. Anyway, we were there. Now, my father, when we were kids, we'd been there, and my father had told me about the ghost at the barn, and it had this ghost would always be very mischievous. They, staff would come in and find in the middle of the cellar, they'd find crates of wine all piled up in the middle, which weren't piled up like that the night before. Things moved around, all sorts of things. Now, we parked the car in the car park, and I had told I told the girlfriend at the time, I told her, and I told the kids, I said, look, just letting you know, this place is supposed to be haunted. It's nothing to be scared about. They did, girlfriend at the time, she didn't, she was a non-believer. She didn't want to hear all that stuff. I don't know why. But no, she was just like, no, it's bullshit. They don't exist. Anyway, we were parked under the only light in the car park, and over against the fence, and there was nothing between us and the fence, but over on the fence was a shadow, and it looked like the head and torso of someone hanging with a rope, as if someone had hung themselves, like a shadow of someone who had hung themselves. And when we were in the restaurant, I said to the waiter, I said, look, girlfriend and the kids, they don't believe me. Tell them what's here. Tell them what happens here at night when you guys close. And he told the story about the ghost. And I said, okay, can you tell us a little bit about the ghost? And he said, it's a woman who used to own the barn, back when it was a farm, stables, all the rest of it. I said, what happened to her? And he said, she hung herself in the stables. And straight away, I was like, hung herself, okay. Because remember, I saw a shadow of someone hanging. And so I said to him, where were the stables where she hung herself? And he said, where the car park is now. So I believed that I saw something there. Now, years later, so in 2008, I opened up a video store in Bonbeach, Popcorn Video, and my eldest, Alex, he was working one day. He had made himself a toasted cheese sandwich or something in the kitchenette, he put it on the desk on a plate. He'd gone out to the counter, which was at the front of the store. The kitchenette was at the back. He'd gone to the front of the store because a customer had come in, and he served the customer. And when he went back to the kitchen, the plate and the sandwich are all in little pieces on the other side of the kitchenette. And so that was incident number one. Number two, I was talking to a friend in America on video camera, and it was after the shop had closed, and this friend of mine said to me, "Oh, is your daughter there?" I said, "No, I was there on my own." And I said, "No," and she said to me, "Well, who was the little girl who just walked behind you?" I didn't see it. I didn't see it on my webcam, but apparently she did. And I said, "Oh no, there's no one here." One night, a little while later, I was on the phone at the front of the store. We'd actually moved the counter to the back of the store, so people had to go to the back of the store to check in and check out their DVDs. But I was at the front of the store, sitting at the front on the phone to a friend, and my daughter was at the back of at the counter at the back putting DVDs away. This was about 10:30 at night. We'd closed at 10. She was putting stuff away at 10:30. She ran screaming from the store. And she ran out onto the footpath and refused. She was crying. She was pale. She was in shock. She refused to come inside. It took me probably half an hour to get her to come back inside. And I said to her, "Look, what's wrong? What's wrong?" And she said, "I saw a little girl." I said, "What do you mean you saw a little girl?" She said, "I saw a little girl. She poked her head out from under a curtain." Now, the curtain she was talking about separated the store from the storeroom. There was no it wasn't a curtain to a window or anything like that. It was a curtain to the storeroom. And she said, "I saw a little girl. She poked her head out from under the curtain." So I ended up having the Australian Paranormal Society come in. They came in and did an investigation. Overnight, it went for maybe 3-4 hours from 10:30, 11 o'clock at night until whatever in the morning. And we discovered through communicating through what they call a Frank's box. Now, Frank's box is basically, it emits static. It is every possible sound transmitted, and it's an easy way for spirits to communicate. And we discovered by communicating with a couple of the spirits that there were actually 6 spirits there at the time. And we had photos. There were photos taken. The one of the Paranormal Society people, she actually had a spirit orb. She had long hair. She said, "I'm feeling something in my hair." And we took a photo of her, and there was a spirit orb in her hair. There was a really bright spirit orb, but there was one of the spirits. I think his name was Joshua or Jacob or something starting with a J, and he was very communicative, very. And we asked him. We said, "Look, if you tell us your surname, and if we can find out where you're buried, we'll go and put some flowers on your grave." Clear as day, the word "bullshit" came from this Frank's box, and we said, "No. We'll put flowers on your grave." And then the words no bullshit. Just like that. It was all recorded. And yeah, it was quite interesting and quite clear. Now remember, it was just static that was being played through this thing, and that's what came up. I saw things floating around that store after hours. I saw DVDs fly out from a shelf and then float down the aisle for a few feet and then slide along the floor. And when I did close the store, which was in 2013, my son was in there cleaning up after I'd moved everything. I was transporting everything to where I was moving to, and my son called me up and said, "Your friends don't like the fact that you've moved." And I said, "What are you talking about?" And he said, "Well, your ghosts, they don't like the fact that you're closing the store. The posters you had on the window to say you were closing down, they've just torn them down and shredded them in front of me in the air." And I went around one night. It was just that was about a year after the investigation. But about a week after the investigation, and the Paranormal Society had said to me, "Look, you're going to experience some a lot of activity over the next few weeks. Be prepared for it." So I was in there late one night. Had the TV on. It was after hours, and from up in a corner of the room, up near the roof, there was a really weird light. So I've grabbed a digital camera and I'm going around trying to take a photo of this light. And of course, you take a photo of light with a flash, and it's just going to cancel it out. But I stood behind the counter and faced into the bathroom, and I took photos, and I felt this really cold ice. It was like ice chill on my back. And this was summer in Melbourne. I mean, okay, Melbourne's not the warmest, but it was summer. And the air conditioner was off though. It was just a pleasant night, and I felt this icy cold chill on my back, and I turned around. I took a photo. The photo shows quite clearly a spirit mist, and you can see a face and everything in this really weird mist. I rented a room in a place in Brighton in Victoria, and it was a pre-World War II house. And it was I could feel something there, but my housemate and I were sitting in the kitchen one night, and all there was, it was just the two of us, no one else in the house, and it was late at night, and we were talking. I don't know what we were talking about, but from her bedroom, and we were in the kitchen, the other end, but from her bedroom, you could hear this, it was like a whistle, like a woodwind instrument whistle. And I thought it might have been some kid outside with one of those recorders. You remember the recorders we had when we were in school, and you used to play the stupid tunes, and they were always, always crappy to play, and our parents hated them. Anyway, it was like a note from one of them. And I said to her, she said, "Did you hear that?" I said, "Yeah, I heard that. What the hell was that?" I said, "It's probably just someone outside." She said, "It's 10:30 at night. Kids aren't outside." Okay. So she's thought about it. She said, "Well, hang on, I think I know what it is." She's gone into her room. She's come back with this thing that she had brought back from overseas. It was a woodwind instrument. You blow into it and it played a note. And she said, "Was that what you heard? Was that the same note?" I said, "Yeah, that was the same note." And that was in her room where a lot of her mother's stuff was. Her mother had passed on, and she reckons that her mother's spirit is there, and that, yeah.
Whew. Holy fuck, man. Holy shit. That's pretty scary. That's very scary. That fucking scared the shit out of me. Oh, man. I'll tell you, I got a couple of very, very freaky stories I'm gonna say. By the way, my throat is fucking killing me, man. But I wasn't gonna say fuck this podcast and do it another time. No. When I say something, I do it. But man, my throat is like I'm gargling concrete. My mate, just a quick, segue. My friend had the flu, and the cocksucker, and I will use the term cocksucker, and I apologize for anyone who's offended. The cocksucker came to my house the day before, didn't tell me he had the flu, coughed all over the place like a fucking idiot, and he gave me the flu. Now, normally when you get the flu, I'm digressing. Hey, but I got to get this out because I'm pissed. No, and I hope he hears this. Normally when I get the flu, when anyone gets the flu, it takes about 24 hours to kick in. So you're infected with the goddamn flu, and then 24 hours later, you start to feel it in your throat. So I've made myself a tea, a very warm tea, honey tea, but I can't take a sip of it yet because it's so fucking warm, so it defeats the purpose of really making it in the first place. But I'm going to do this now. I'm going to do this beautiful monologue with my voice like it sounds like I'm gargling concrete, but even still, I sound good. See, this is how great the phenomenal Johnny K is. Even with the worst throat on the planet, I still sound pretty good, don't I? I sound pretty great. Anyway, okay, enough of that. Enough of beeping my own horn. Okay, now, the two stories, back onto the topic of ghosts. The two stories I have, Brenton, one of them is where I was at a friend's house. Now, this was, what year was it? It was 20, no, it was, I believe it was, no, it wasn't 2010. No, my dad was still alive. This was in 2009. Now, in 2009, it was just around summertime. I believe it was November. It was November. Almost coming up now. Of 2009. And we were all sitting down in the lounge room. And we decided to get a wedgie board. Because why the fuck not? You know, like when you're kids, you know. And yeah, I mean, look, we're kids at heart. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we would have been, how old were we? I would have been very early 20s. And basically, we decided to get it out, have a fuck around. We had a couple of people there, 19, 20, and we thought, what the hell, you know? And we get it out, we set it up, and then we start, you know, fucking with it, which you should never do. They say if you don't know how to use a wedgie board, you do not fuck with it. So what did we do? We fucked with it. And we wanted to guess, listen to us, the smartasses, we wanted to guess the lottery numbers for the upcoming lottery on the weekend, the Tuts Lotto. So basically, we called out to the spirit and we said, hold on, my fucking throat's killing me. If the guy who gave me the flu is watching, I'm gonna kill you. Oh, it's burned my lip. You can't win. You can't win, Brenton. I was doing all right up until now, and now it's like someone gave you a karate chop to the esophagus. Anyway, so basically, we call out to the spirit about giving us the numbers, and we're all with our finger on the thing, and it's moving to a whole bunch of numbers that we had set up. It's going all over the place, and we got to the numbers. And the numbers it got, and I'll never forget the numbers, man. The numbers that we got were 8, 16, 27, 32, and then after that, you know, it went on to 3, and then we all felt this massive pain. We all felt it, all of us, and we couldn't continue. We had to stop. It was excruciating. And mind you, we were shitting bricks. So we decided no more, that's it. And we stopped it. And none of us got any sleep that night. Well, the weekend came, Saturday night. The numbers that were drawn, 8. Then it was 16, 27, 32, 3, and then when the 3 was about to, like, you almost saw like a 3 was going to come, and a 3, it's like we saw a 3, and all of a sudden the screen just went, it went off, turned back on. It was like, what was it? Like, you know, did you not plug in the TV properly? Was there a cable that was loose at the bottom? And we turned it back on, and then after the 3, there was a couple other random numbers and supplementaries. And we're like, holy fucking shit. All the fucking numbers that we had fucking gathered from the Ouija board came up, and right when we were very, you know, fucking painful, and we were like, oh, Jesus Christ, and we stopped it, that's when the TV did what it did, and then it continued with a whole bunch of different ones. And I thought, holy fucking shit. And dude, I was there. This is legit real, and the numbers on the screen. And I swear, like, that's freaky as fuck. Like, I never used to believe in ghosts. There's no way it could have been a coincidence. And that freaked me the fuck out, big time. And all my mates, to this day, they'll never forget it. I'm not, and I should be careful how I say this, because on Facebook I can rant and rave how I want, but a lot of people are going to see this, and I don't want to commit career suicide. But let's just say that I don't subscribe to religion. That said, that doesn't mean I don't believe in supernatural, you know, entities, spirits, but supernatural beings. I mean, look, just because there could be spirits out there, you know, that could very well mean that a supernatural being can exist in the form of God. However, that said, even if the possibility door is wide open, the only reason I debunk an existence for God is because 8-month-old babies get molested by pedophiles and then killed, you know, smothered with a pillow. Teenagers from the age of 11 and 12 are sold as sex slaves in Paris and all across the world, but especially in Paris. And then, so they can't talk after the pedophiles have used them, so they can't identify the pedophiles. They inject them with heroin, lethal dose, and kaput. That's why I don't believe in God. And I can get really technical about it, but that's, you know, that's a podcast for another time. And I've covered it in the past, and I'll cover it again. So that's why I don't believe in God. That's why I don't believe a supernatural being like God exists. But spirits, other beings, you know, of certain kinds, in the form of spirits, how can you not believe? When stuff like that happened to me, and the stuff happened to you, all those stories, how can you not believe? So I'm a firm believer in spirits. I mean, it could have been a coincidence, the Tatslotto thing. Some motherfucking coincidence. Some coincidence that would have been, if it was a coincidence. But you'll never really know. Another story. And this one was in 2007, a couple of years before the Tatslotto one. We were at a party, and everyone had this guy. He was 27, and he was going on 28, and someone had told him, like one of these voodoo places, magic shops, and some really bad person told him, I guess you're not meant to say anything, and if you do, you kind of jinx it, or maybe it was all meant to be from the beginning, and he just informed him. I don't know, but someone had told him that on your 28th birthday at 3 a.m. you were going to drown. Now everyone thought, rightio. Fuck me. Let's see if it's cooled down a bit. God damn it. Oh, gosh. My goodness gracious. Hey, dedication, commitment. So, they said to him, 3 a.m. on your 28th birthday, you're going to drown. Everyone just had a laugh. It's like, yeah, whatever, okay. Stop going to these silly places. What on earth? Before his 28th birthday, he also went to other places. The moment he walked in, ding, ding, you know, when the door, you know, started dingling and the people came to the counter, they shit their dacks. It's like they'd literally seen a ghost and they said, get out of my shop, get out of my shop. I'm thinking, what the fuck? It happened a couple of times. 2 different places he went to after that. And, you know, we all thought it was a little bit strange. It's like, what the fuck is going on? Anyway, so the time came and I wasn't able to go. I wasn't there, but I heard about it afterwards. It's kind of better that I didn't go because I don't want to see that shit because you never know what can come on to you afterwards. But it had gone midnight and he had turned 28 and the whole drowning thing, and we're thinking, well, just to take precautions, and everyone, you know, was thinking just to take precautions, and I kind of brought it up. I go, just make sure he's nowhere where there's a pool or an ocean or a river or anything where he can drown. So we took that, you know, as a precaution. We had it at a place where it was far away from, you know, the beach, any rivers, no ocean in sight, and no pools. And basically, we didn't know that there was a well in the backyard. There was an old house and there was a well in the backyard. Now the well was covered up. So it used to be a well. It got covered up probably a century ago, if the house is over 100 years old. And it was no longer a well. But it was a well. Originally it was a well. So we were having fun. There's no way he can drown. And around the 2 a.m. mark, he was feeling a little bit funny. And my mates were like, what's the matter, dude? Like, you've had a little bit too much to drink. He only had a few beers. You know, he was feeling okay. And towards the 2:30 mark, in that last hour, then, you know, and then when there's half an hour left, he was really feeling fucked up. Like, he wasn't feeling himself. And we're all thinking, you know, like out loud, because, you know, they had me on the phone. It's like, what the fuck is going on? You should be here, Johnny. It's like, you know, I couldn't be there. I had another commitment. I had another birthday party that clashed. Fuck me. I'm gonna go get some fucking soothers after this is done. 24-hour calls. So basically, you know, I just said, well, look, there's nothing that can happen, don't worry, there's no water anywhere, he ain't gonna drown. They all started laughing, half serious, and being like, oh, okay, Johnny, but fuck me, man, can you imagine if something did happen? I'm like, nothing's gonna happen. Anyway, so, you know, we hung up, and a couple of minutes before the 3 a.m., he would, out of nowhere, just walk outside and it was making noises like that. And the guy went straight for the well. The well. And we're all like, well, there's no water. It's fucking, it's been blocked off for like the last 70, 80 years, however long it's been. You know, what the fuck? So the guy goes up to the well and just leans against the well because he wanted to lean against something. We're like, just lay on the floor, lay on the ground, you know, in the grass. You know, no, he wanted to lay on the well. And, you know, none of us, you know, knew it was a well. I didn't know. I mean, I've been to the house a few times. I didn't know it was a well. We found out afterwards that it was, you know, previously a well. And basically, he was just laying on it, and then he sort of got up, and I was told he was walking around it, and sort of, you know, like doing this, like you know how a cat comes and rubs up against your leg? He was going around rubbing up against the well. He was trying to fucking fall into the well. And I'm thinking, well, he ain't falling into shit. It's blocked. Just, you know, make him snap out of it. He just stopped breathing. He went around quite a number of times, and then he just stopped breathing. He collapsed, but he stopped breathing. He died. He died. And the coroner, when like we took it, you know, because you know he wanted to make sure that there was no foul play. You know, a whole bunch of people there, you know. Maybe, you know, they thought someone put something in his drink. Whatever the fuck, you know, the common stuff they do when they have to test to make sure everything's, you know, on the level with the unfortunate passing. And they found that he passed away. The determination was that it was a form of drowning, even though there was no water, something to do with his lungs. It was like a case of drowning. We were like, what the fuck? It's like, and the guy was like, in the report he wrote, it's like a form of what it would be like if you were to drown. And there was a very technical word that none of us fucking understand, but it was to do with how someone drowns. That's the effect, and they don't know. Sometimes you pass away, and aside noting a certain thing, it's unexplainable how it even happened. Just, yeah, you can't explain it. And we all looked at each other and we're like, holy macro. And those are a couple of stories that I've personally experienced. One I was there, the other one I wasn't, but I was in the lead up and the aftermath, and it's 100% true. A person died, so there's your proof, and the circumstances how he died and what we knew. And that's a lot of numbers. I'm a witness to that. Those numbers, those first several numbers came out just how it was on the Ouija board. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of shit out there, and I believe in spirits, obviously. A lot of people don't. But can it be all a huge coincidence? I don't know. All I know is some fucking coincidences. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, you got to be careful with those Ouija boards, man. You know, and for any of your listeners, your viewers watching, you know, yeah, the temptation's great to set up a Ouija board with numbers and ask for the Slido numbers, you know, but don't do it. You know, those things, you know, if not handled correctly, they can be, you know, you could end up with stuff happening for years around you that's frightening stuff. But yeah. And that story about your mate drowning, shit, that's spooky, man. That's spooky. You know, there's a bridge. It's on Ferntree Gully Road. It's just down from Springvale Road. So as you're going towards the city, on Ferntree Gully Road. There's this, it's the, what do they call it? The freeway overpass. There used to be a footbridge there. Now, years ago, back when it was a footbridge, years ago, a young girl was crossing the footbridge and she fell. She fell from the footbridge and she fell in the path of a truck and got killed. But the truck was speeding, and apparently if you wind your window down on your car, tune your radio into static, there's that static again, it's how they communicate, and if you do, I'm not asking you to do it, I'm not suggesting you go and break the law or anything like that, but if you, because I think that's a 60 zone, but if you're doing about 100 there, you will actually hear a girl scream. Now, I've done it. I did it years ago when I first heard about this. I did it, and the scream is quite chilling. I heard the scream, and it was chilling. And I've only ever done it once. I'll never do it again, because that was frightening stuff. But yeah, it's just near the freeway overpass. It crosses Ferntree Gully Road, on the just short of Springvale Road. But yeah, look, ghost stories all originated places. There's a ghost story I heard years ago, and I'm actually going to put it into an anthology film, because I'm going to do an anthology with 3 or 4 ghost stories. So I've started writing this one, but so it's copyrighted to me, guys. So hey, all those filmmakers out there, I've already started writing it. So this guy's driving along and he picks up a hitchhiker. It's a rainy night. It's this young girl on the side of the road. She's walking along. He just stops, offers her a lift. She gets in the car, thanks him, and she's obviously chilled to the bone. She's drenched, and he's given her his jacket just to keep her warm. Heater's on in the car. He drives along, and he says to her, "Look, I'll drop you off home. You can't walk in this stuff." That's why he gave her a lift. Anyway, she gets him to stop the car on the side of the road near a house, and she thanks him for the lift. And the next day, he's realised he hasn't got his jacket. He's given her the jacket. She's taken the jacket with her, so he's gone to the house to ask her for the jacket, and she wasn't there. Old lady answered, and he's asked for Crystal, and the old lady says, "Is this a joke?" And he says, no, look, I picked her up on the side of the road just the other night. It was raining, and she's got my jacket. And she says, "Look, that's impossible. You could not have picked Crystal up just the other night." She said to him, "What night was this?" He said, "Friday night." She said, "Well, she called him an arsehole, a prick, all the rest of it." And she says, "I don't know how you found out." And he said, "What do you mean found out?" She said, "Look, Friday night was the anniversary of her death. She's been dead for 20 years. And he said, "I don't understand. She was walking along the side of the road. I gave her a lift, and she's got my jacket. I want my, Anyway, the old lady said, "Look, the cemetery just out, wherever the cemetery was, the you'll find on plot whatever, you'll find a headstone. So he's gone down the cemetery. Sure enough, there's her headstone. There's her name, Crystal, with the date, which was 20 years prior. And there, sitting on top of the headstone, was his jacket. And so, yeah, that's a story that's going to feature in my anthology. I actually need a couple of other stories. So if any of your viewers want to contribute some really good ghost stories that involve driving, hitchhikers, or the rest of it, and they want to submit them, get them to submit them, man, and I'll, if I like the story, I'll put it in my anthology movie, and I'll give them credit in the film, as told by, yeah.
Whew. Shit. I got goosebumps. I got goosebumps. Holy shit. Holy fuck. That's chilling, bro. That's chilling. Reminds me of Gothica. Similar, on the road. Saw the lady, goes to the office, talks to the warden, I believe, of the facility. A facility, not sure exactly, it's been a while since I've seen it, and sees a picture of her. She's been gone a while. Yeah, that's creepy, and that would happen a lot, man. Man, it's very creepy. You can't explain it. Again, with my throat halfway down, so it's a little bit better. Halloween special, man, 31st. So I wasn't going to miss it. I couldn't miss it. Alrighty. We're going to wrap up shortly. What are you going to do in terms of costumes for Halloween, Brenton? Are you doing anything for it? I know we're in Australia. Been back now for a little bit, going back to America and Canada soon. I thought I'd come back and see family. They were whinging to see me, Brenton. What can I do? I love America and Canada. Canada, you can live any day of the week, any day of the month, any day of the year. Decades on end. America, different story. Stay there a couple of weeks and get the fuck out of there. But America's nice too. But it's not like Australia. Canada, very similar to Australia. And they just legalized weed. We'll get into that another time. Oh, that's hilarious. Just when they legalize weed, I leave. I don't smoke, mind you. But you're around happy people when people smoke. I think you can be happy, with a natural high, but that's just me. But hey, if people want to smoke, now I'm digressing. If people want to smoke weed, go for it, mate. As long as you're happy and you cause no harm to anyone else, go for it, mate. How many people drink alcohol and they're punching up people on the street? But nah, weed is the devil incarnate. Now I'm getting my natural high. My endorphins are going up. Anyway, that's a podcast for another time. God knows we've got so many. But yeah, good on them. Good on Canada for legalizing weed just before Halloween. How about that? Anyway, so yeah, man. Hey, we don't really celebrate it in Australia, Halloween. Well, we do and we don't. It's not like how it is in America. But people still go out for it and do some shit. What do you have in mind? How are you going to go? I don't know how I'm going to go. Maybe I'll go like this. Maybe I don't even need a mask. I'm scary looking already.
How am I going to go for Halloween? Well, that's a really good question. Considering that most of my stuff is still in storage in Melbourne, and I've got to somehow get everything over to Perth. And I've got a Jason Voorhees hockey mask made by Slaughter Effects, which is it was a pretty cool looking hockey mask. It's got the axe wound in it and everything. It's full on legit looking Friday 13th mask. And normally I used to always dress like that for Halloween. And, you know, last year was my first Halloween in Perth, and I didn't have anything, so I had to borrow a ghost costume. And it looked all right. But this year, rehearsals for a show that I'm doing, To Sir With Love, the stage show. And I decided to ask everyone to dress in Halloween costume, and I'll upload videos of it. But I've asked everyone to dress in Halloween costume, and I'm going to do a prize for the best costume. Anyway, went to the Perth show only a couple of weeks ago, and look, as far as royal shows go, it was very small compared to Melbourne. Melbourne was massive. Adelaide was always my favourite royal show. Anyway, I bought a show bag, as you do, and so I still got to get the rest of the costume, but there's my costume. So, yeah, I know, I can hear a lot of people saying, take the mask off, take the mask off. I've already taken it off. But yeah, I don't know, this crazy clown thing. I always wanted a decent latex mask, and, well, that looks pretty freaky. So I've just got to get a clown costume, and I'm going to do that, aren't I? Yeah. But that was part of that was in a show bag, and it was either that or one of those horsehead ones, and I didn't want the horsehead one. So yeah, I thought this one was pretty cool. But I used to run a video store. I told you about the video store. So from the 1st of October through the 31st of October, the entire month was always Halloween in our shop. And I had some, you know, the first year, which was 2008. So we're talking 10 years ago. Because we had the biggest horror section of DVDs in any video store on the Mornington Peninsula. This was in Bonbeach, near Chelsea, and apparently it's part of Mornington Peninsula. So we ran from the 1st of October to the 31st. Every year we decorated the window, decorated the whole store. And I bought this. It was a 6-foot zombie bride. She was freestanding. She had it looked like a skeleton. You know, she was wearing clothes. You know, these paper clothing. And so she was our first Halloween costume that we bought. And her name, I actually ran a competition, and I said, look, name the zombie, and we had people come up with naming her by their teachers' names or their wives' names or their mother-in-law's names, and someone said mother. I said, that's not nice, you know. You're calling your mother a zombie. She said, and this woman said, no. She said, because the zombie looked a bit like Norman Bates's mother from Psycho, and he just referred to her as mother the entire film. So that's why she called it. She suggested mother. So mother actually became we personified her. We gave her this name, Mother, and she's actually got her own Facebook page. If you look up Mother, MOTH space ER, because we couldn't use just Mother because Facebook wouldn't allow it. So it's Moth. I I no longer have access to Mother's Facebook page, unfortunately, but hey, you can see photos there. Mother would stand in the window, and every night I would move her around. It was a bit like shelf. Was it Elf on the Shelf? So every night I would move her into different positions, and she would be checking out the horror section. She'd be standing in the window. She'd be over near the counter, all over the place, all over this store. Every night I'd move her around. It was a lot of fun. And so the first year was it was just a haunted graveyard thing. I got some tombstones made up with famous movie characters on there. It had Dracula, it had Frankenstein, had Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger, and who else? Frankenfurter. All of these different movie characters, all these, there were about 6, I think, headstones we had made up. And look, it was pretty cool. Spiderwebs hanging everywhere and giant spiders and everything. And then I dressed up as a vampire because I didn't have the hockey mask at that stage. I didn't have my Halloween costume at that point. So the next year, which was it would have been 2009 or 2010, one of those, we got a coffin made up, and we had the coffin sitting in there. We had a TV propped up inside the coffin. We got some red satin material, lined the coffin with that. And we had Mother perched against this TV, had a DVD player hidden under the cloth, and I was playing vampire films because it was whatever year it was, whatever year this particular one was. It was the 80th anniversary of Bela Lugosi's Dracula, so we celebrated that for Halloween. We had vampire films playing 24/7 in the window. It was a pretty cool display. Our final display, which would have been 2012, I had gone out and bought all this material and built a dungeon backdrop, and it had basically 3 sides. It had a gate that would open and close in the middle, like bars, so you could see through it, but you could also, if you wanted photo opportunity, you could actually walk into this thing, and have a photo taken in there. And every year our Halloween display just drew a lot of attention. So that was pretty cool. Mother, I ended up having her chained to the wall, got some chains, and I chained her up to the wall. But yeah, for Halloween this year, it's pretty simple. I'm just going to wear the mask, and it's creepy looking, the mask, and I'm going to get a clown costume, because my clown costume, because I used to be a clown, so my clown costume's in storage as well. But I was Bento the Magic Clown, because I was a magician, I was a clown, all that stuff. Won awards with magic and everything. So, but yeah, I remember one year, 2014. I was at the Halloween haunted house thing in Surrey Hills, and that was pretty cool. They'd asked me to come along as an evil clown, so I dressed like the clown from Clown House, the main clown. Frightened a lot of people, people who suffered claustrophobia or whatever it's called, where you're afraid of clowns. But not much I could do about that. Anyway, yeah. So yeah.
Halloween for me, I don't know. Maybe I can go as a clown too. But my friends already say I look like a clown and I sound like a clown, so maybe I don't need the costume. I can save money on that. And you get paid for being a clown. I don't get paid for getting called a clown or being a clown. Great mates, they love me, don't they? Oh, I can feel the love. Speaking of dressing like a clown, you know what? In Perth, you're perfectly safe. Well, sort of safe. On Halloween, look, for years on end, we've had this clown epidemic where people go around Rah! And they chase people with clown masks and costumes. You can get away with just a mask, but if you're planning on getting the costume, hey, look, it's okay. It's okay, Brenton. You're not in America, so you're not going to get shot several times. You're in Australia, so you're just going to get tasered. Now you'll be fine. Now, your taser is not too bad. But yeah, the clown epidemic, people are on watch, mate. It's like, it's like a Resident Evil game where they're looking out for clowns. The clowns are the zombies. But it's a shame, because looking like a clown is cool. Yeah, it is. It is. I don't know if chicks like clowns though. I think they're scared of clowns. I don't know. Maybe that's the reason they don't go for me. Anyway, yeah, look, I'm planning, and I'll get your thoughts on it. You probably haven't seen it, or you might have. I certainly haven't. The Halloween movie, the remake, that new one, which reportedly, from a couple of reviews I've already seen, is almost as good as the original, the first ever Halloween. Oh, and people probably think, Brenton, what does Brenton have against Michael Myers? You didn't mention Michael Myers out of all the people that you've put up in the hey, the original Halloween was, in my opinion, one of the greatest ever horror films. One of the greatest, if not the greatest, but that's a little bit arguable, but one of the greatest, hands down. Amazing, just amazing. Just the way they did it. And look, you can't remake something, decades later, the way that it was. However, apparently they came super close, and I can't wait to see it. I'm going to get it. It's out now, October 19th it came out. I'm going to go sometime this week and watch it. Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to watch it. Because it's been a while since we've had something good at the cinemas. So if I can get in there, Halloween's been out now, so I'm going to go and watch it. Apparently it's very scary. And I don't scare easy, unless we're talking about ghost stories that are real. Oh, man, it's just... But the greatest fictional story ever, I'd say, is Halloween. It's just legendary. It's iconic. So yeah, man, have you seen it, or are you going to go watch it? And before we let you go, tell us how you're going with the theatre group, with the Breakfast Club. How's all that going for you? And what's in the pipeline down the road in terms of film and television? We'd love to know. The audience would love to know. Oh, by the way, after that live podcast we did several months back, my inbox imploded. It imploded, Brenton. Oh my God, Brenton Foale. Oh my God, the director, the producer. Oh my God, the creator of this, the creator of that. Oh my. They wanted me to talk to you about you getting them a role, even if it's a bit part, a cameo of some sort, guest role. Is there any roles, I can go for, be a main character? I'm like, Jesus Christ. Just be normal and just listen to the podcast, put a thumbs up or a love heart, whatever the fuck, dislike it for all we care. Just don't do our heads in. And they go, is that coming from Brendan or is that coming from you? And I go, well, that's coming from me, solely me. But if you go and act like that in front of producers and directors in general, they're gonna freak out. So yeah, I think they're struggling with their acting CVs. That's another podcast for another time. How to approach directors and producers instead of stalking the absolute fuck out of them. Yeah. But I digress again.
All right, so I'll address all of that as much as I can remember. So first of all, Michael Myers, Halloween. So yeah, I haven't seen the new one yet. It's supposed to be a direct sequel to the original 1978 Halloween. Jamie Lee Curtis is back. John Carpenter, who pretty sure he directed the new one, but he directed the original. John Carpenter, of course, who also did The Thing in, what was that, 1982 or 83. He did The Fog, again with Jamie Lee Curtis. He did In the Mouth of Madness. Brilliant director. Love John Carpenter's work. Big visionary. So he wanted to basically eliminate everything from Halloween 2 onwards and do a film that was a direct sequel to the original Halloween. So everything that happened in Halloween 2, Halloween 3, of course, was not in the same story arc, and I'll get to that in a second. But the everything from Halloween 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, H2O, all the rest of them, they are completely ignored in this new one that's just come out. But that was his intention. He wasn't happy with how Mustafa, whatever his name was, did Halloween 2. I actually liked Halloween 2, which was because Halloween was the night he came home. Halloween 2 was more of the night he came home. Halloween 3 was the night no one came home. I actually loved the Halloween franchise. Every single one of them except for Resurrection. It's the only one I didn't like was Halloween Resurrection. I saw it in the cinemas and it was just really difficult to watch. It was okay on DVD, but it wasn't a great film. It just lacked everything that all the other Halloween films had. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that one. And you're right, we haven't had any decent films in a long time. We had the last film I saw in the cinemas was Hereditary, and it was okay. It was all right. Bit slow. Had a lot of bad press. People were complaining about it, but yeah. I run a Facebook group called Horror Movie Addicts, and it's the second largest horror movie discussion group on Facebook. There's one that's got about 100,000 members. We've got about 82,000 members worldwide, and we're growing every day. We're just adding more and more members every day. I started it off as a way to promote my video store. As I said, my store had the largest horror movie section. We had over 2,000 horror movies in our weekly section alone, and that was when we opened. And it was huge. So I created Horror Movie Addicts as a way to promote the new horror stuff that was coming out all the time, and that just ballooned. It, as I said, it was a couple of years ago, we had maybe 5,000 people, 5,000 members. Now we've got 80,000 members. It's growing that fast. And all the members, everyone's discussing the new Halloween film. And thankfully no one's actually given any spoilers. I hate it when people do that. They give spoilers. But we ended up, because we get so many posts about when a new horror film comes out, like when Hereditary came out, everyone was bombarding the boards with Hereditary. The new Halloween film, as soon as they started announcing that, everyone was talking about the trailers and everything and going, oh yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. Now they're all talking about this Netflix series, The Haunting of Hill House. So these, it's very popular. But I had to create a special Halloween thread in there because everyone was just raving about it and talking about it, and there hasn't been a lot of negativity. It's been mainly positive about it. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. Thank you to all your fans for saying that they want to be in my films. I'm going to be sometime next year, and hopefully it'll be February. My birthday's the 10th of February. I want to be over there around that time, whether it's for my birthday or just after, to finally film Iniquitous. I have been planning this film for years and getting it right, and it has to be right. I don't want it to be a failure. I don't want it to, I'm a perfectionist. Everything has to be absolutely perfect. Now we do have, you were saying that some of your fans, your friends wanted to know how to get into one of my films. I do have a role open in Iniquitous. It is one of the leads. It's for a 20-year-old boy, 20-year-old man. He's an awkward guy. He's actually the protagonist. He's awkward. He's been through, his mother's widowed, so it's just him and his mother, and he's very awkward, all the rest of it. Now the role came vacant because the actor who was playing it has completely disappeared off of social media. He's deactivated his social media, can't reach him on the phone, he's not answering emails, and he's not answering Instagram or anything like that. So I don't know what the hell's happened to him. So we've got to replace him, unfortunately. Yes, I'm happy to take applications. Needs to be Caucasian. So if they want to find out how to get in, if people are actually interested, if they live in Melbourne and they're interested, then they can always contact you for my details. I'll make sure you've got my email address. They can email through a headshot photo and a bio and everything. So that's going to be filmed in Melbourne sometime next year. And that's why it's delayed even further. The Breakfast Club. Yep, the Breakfast Club was brilliant. We finished that in the end of July, and that was a really good show. A lot of the audience came up to me afterwards because the cast and crew waited out in the foyer, and we mingled with the audience in the foyer after each performance. And a lot of them came up to me and said, "Oh, we could tell you're from Melbourne." I said, "Why do you say that?" They said, "You didn't deliver a WA production, you delivered a Melbourne production." The Independent Theatre Association gave us an absolutely brilliant write-up. The show was not an amateur production; it was a professional production. The cast were brilliant. All the cast were really good. There was a lot of humor that I had added into it. There was one moment in the production. It happened, I think, by accident in a rehearsal, and I just said to the young fella, and it was his first community theatre production. He's only ever done high school productions. His name was Archer Larwood, and he was playing the role of Brian, the nerd, the brain, and he. Right at the end, he's got a whole heap of pens and pencils and everything on his desk, because he's been writing the essay, and he went to put them in the pencil case, and some of them fell on the floor. And he did this in rehearsals. If some of them fell on the floor, and I said to him, can you do that again? Can you keep doing that every performance? And he said, well, I guess. I said, all right, because it was so funny. It was accidental slapstick humor. And it was so funny. And so we kept that in there. And he gets pencil. He reaches, he's putting his pencils. Sorry, a message came through and interrupted my video. He's putting the pencils into a pencil case, and some of them fall on the floor. So he goes around his desk, and he picks up the pencils, and he reaches up to put them into the thing, and he spills more from the pencil case. So he grabs a pencil case, and he's got pencils all over the floor, and he's picking them all up and putting them into the pencil case, and he's got the pencil case in one hand, and he reaches to pick up some pencils that are just a little bit further away from him, and drops some more out of the pencil case. And it was just so funny. I loved the bit of that bit of business, and that was something that a 15-year-old kid came up with. And completely by accident. So the Breakfast Club, we finished that the end of July. 28th of July was our closing night. Very successful. We are contemplating doing an encore performance of that at some stage. I don't know when. But we're also, right now we're in the middle of rehearsing To Sir With Love, the stage play, slightly different to the film. The film was made in 1967, and it was set in 1967. It's the 50th anniversary this year, so got a great cast. There were a few issues with the script that I wasn't happy about, so we've changed a few things. But it's set in 1948 because it's a true story. They changed it for the film, but they based the film on the book, which was a biography of this guy, Ricky Braithwaite, or E.R. Braithwaite, and so it was, he was an engineer, electronics engineer that had come out of World War II. He was an RAF pilot, I suppose, or engineer. I don't know. He was in the RAF, and he couldn't get a job in engineering in London. We're talking war-torn London. Remember, London took a long time to recover from the effects of World War II. So he gets a job teaching. No teaching qualifications whatsoever, but he's still got a job teaching. And he's teaching students in their senior year who their very unruly. They've had issues with previous schools they were at, and they've been shuffled around, and they end up in this one school where basically no other school wants them, so they're in this school in east end of London, and they give him grief. Anyway, he ends up teaching them about life, and it's a good book, good film, and the production is going to be great. So we're looking at doing that and performing that in February, just before I come over to Melbourne. The production we're going to do after that is Empire Records. And that's been adapted from the screenplay, and that's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of the cast from To Sir With Love will carry on to do Empire Records, and we'll need a few people to fill other roles, but I don't think it's ever been done as a stage play before. So it's going to be pretty cool, and the production we do after that is going to be Casablanca, and that was one it was actually suggested to me by my father, so that's the one we're looking at doing the end of next year, or early the year after. What's happening with film after I finished Iniquitous? I'm still writing Whalage, Spirit of the Eagle. Now, Whalage is it's about an Aboriginal boy on his rite of passage. So, rite of passage, we call it walkabout, but it's their rite of passage. It's a white man's term, calling it walkabout. But it's actually, I don't know that there is actually an Aboriginal name for it. But yeah, they go out into the bush, they have to survive, and it's usually 6 months, I think it is, anywhere between the age of 13 and 19 from memory. I've done a lot of research and I've got it all down in notes. Been researching for just over a year now. There's a lot I have to do with that still. I've still got to talk to Aboriginal elders and collaborate with them. And here in WA there's a lot of Aboriginals, so I've got to talk to one of the elders. There's a couple I have spoken to and they're happy to help, but they're very hard to get hold of. But I've got to talk to them, and I've got to make sure that it is culturally accurate. If it's not culturally accurate, it's not going to be any good. Like I said, I'm a perfectionist, so I want to make sure that it is absolutely perfect. Then you've got, so this boy, he disgraces his family and he's sent out on his walkabout, and he finds he's trying to catch food. He's trying to survive. So he's out there. Day one, he eats witchetty grubs because he hasn't been able to catch any food. Day two, he's out there and he finds near a stream. He finds a wedge-tailed eagle. He finds a wedge-tailed eagle that's trapped in a snare trap. And he frees the eagle, but the eagle won't leave his side. The eagle stays watching him, and then stays following him everywhere. And the eagle actually teaches him how to hunt, because he's been trying to hunt this kangaroo. There's a lot of humour in it. He's been trying to hunt this kangaroo, and the kangaroo keeps evading him. Eventually, he figures out by watching the eagle he figures out that he's got to do the kangaroo dance, and then he goes out and he actually captures the kangaroo. Every night he tells the eagle, and he refers to the eagle as Walage, which is Nunga for eagle. But he tells the eagle every night. He tells him a Dreamtime story, and it's usually something to do with something they've encountered through the day, whether it's the story about how the kangaroo walks like he does, how the streams came to be. He encounters poachers, and he thinks they're evil spirits. He's never encountered white man before, so he thinks these are evil spirits that are riding on serpents, giant serpents. So he tells the story about the giant serpents, and yeah, there's a lot of humor in it. It's going to be a beautiful story. It's going to be a family story. It's going to be filmed in the Kimberleys when we do finally film it. But it's just going to be absolutely beautiful, and I can't wait to film that one too. So after that, I don't know what films I'll do after that. I've got so many films on the go. I'm writing a prequel to Friday the 13th at the moment. I've got an action film that I'm writing. I've got a post-apocalyptic film that I'm writing. The anthology film that we talked about earlier, I've got that one that I'm writing. But that one's going to be easy. The anthology film's going to be easy. It'll be cheap to film. It'll be pretty good. Most of my films, once I finish Iniquitous, most of my films will be filmed here in WA probably. But who knows? Hey. Anyway, man. Yeah.
Man. All that sounds incredible. Absolutely incredible. Wow. I think it's safe to say your 2019, from January all through to December, is booked. Booked in capitals, mate. I tell you what, man. Empire Records. What? Speaking about iconic and legendary, Empire Records was just incredible. What an incredible film. Like, seriously, I would have watched it probably in my entire lifetime about 70 or 80 times, close to 100. Just a brilliant film. Just absolutely brilliant. And that's awesome, man. That's awesome that you're going to be working, with that, getting the rights to it, working with that franchise. Oh my God, dude, that's incredible. Absolutely incredible. Words can't describe. That's going to be some really, really good stuff. I mean, whew, I can only imagine. You know what, Brenton? Iniquitous. Hear me out. Iniquitous, right? One of the greatest films that's going to be created, directed and produced. Some guy has scored a lead role for that film. Now, it makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense that he would just vanish off of thin air. Iniquitous. It's the movie of 2019. And it makes me wonder, Did someone do something to him? In the audition process, we should look back. I'll sit down with you. We should look back at tapes of the audition process because we tape everything. And I want us to look for any very, 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 very shady individuals, because I tell you what, man, did I mention I'm high? Hey, no, natural high. I don't do drugs. Stay away from drugs, people. No, hey, listen. I'm actually, look, I'm being half funny, but I'm actually being half serious. What if someone killed him, dismembered him, threw him in some river because he got so upset because he didn't get the role and that guy did? Hey, you never know, Brenton. Hey, you never know. You never. It's an equitus, mate. There's something going on. No social media. No one can contact him. You know, but look. Hey, it's not our problem. Hey, it's not our problem. Serial killers enter audition rooms all the time. It's not our problem. We're wiping our hands clean. We're wiping our hands clean. Wiping our hands clean. Because, yeah, we're wiping our hands clean. Look, I'll show you. Let me put this here. There we go. There we go. We're wiping our hands clean. We know nothing. We know nothing. But there's definitely something going on. There's definitely something going on. Hey, that's okay. If we ever hear on the news that your lead actor has died, killed, dismembered, thrown in a river, hey, all right, we're going to mourn for a couple of days, you know, go to the funeral, and then we can recast. Hey, and I tell you what, see what I mean, Brenton? See what I mean? And I'm not taking any comedy skits. I know I'm good at what I do. I'm very funny. Thank you very much. Thank you. But I'm not taking any comedy skits. I'm pretty booked out myself, okay? So don't even think of messaging me like you message Brenton. I swear, see, Brenton, as soon as you said the thing about, you know, yep, there's a roll open, this and that, some guy who's left, you know, dismembered, butchered, and, you know, straight away, man. Straight away. Da-ding, you got a message. Da-ding, you got a message. They're interrupting the broadcast, mate, because, see, that's how people are. That's how they are, mate. They want to fucking suck the life out of you. Oh, my God, there's a roll that's open. Oh, my God, oh, stop the presses. Let's message Brenton. I'm telling you, man, by tomorrow morning, when you wake up tomorrow morning, bro, to go about your day, you're going to have like 100 messages, bro. You're going to have 100 messages of all these acting CVs, headshots. Mate, you've unleashed the beast. They don't need your email, bro. They got your Facebook, man. That's show business, brother. That's show business. That's what it's like, mate. That's what it's like. And that's what we love. But we don't, hey, listen, don't get me wrong. And I'm sure Brenton feels the same way. We don't mind crazy. We don't mind, hey, crazy is exciting. Hey, crazy is different. We don't mind crazy. We just can't do psychotic. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to the first ever video broadcast. Plenty more of these to come. It's actually really cool. I had a blast doing it. And we're going to get more people on the show. We can do 3 ways, 4 ways, 5 ways, 6 ways, 10 ways. We can have as many people in this type of format. And we can just go and go and go until the cows come home, until the fat lady sings. Oh no, we live in a politically correct world, and I just said fat lady. I'm sorry. Quick think. Slightly over. No, we can't say slightly overweight. Let's think. Slightly obese. No, we can't say obese. That's offensive. Brenton Foale. Let me think. Did I mention I'm high? Big boned. Yep. Big boned is no. That used to be okay, but now that's gone. We can't say big boned. You can't win. Brenton. In 2018, mate, you cannot win. We're silenced, mate. We can't even state facts. We can't even say things how they are, mate. But I digress. Ladies and gentlemen, have a lovely Halloween. Brenton's going to have a lovely Halloween. All right, he's going to go off now. He's going to do trick-or-treating, you know, with whatever niece, nephews he's got, family. I am not going to do trick-or-treating. I'm not going to do trick-or-treating because I haven't got anything to trick-or-treat. I haven't got anything, no costume, no nothing. I can go out like this, and when I open the door, hey, it's Johnny K the Clown. Yeah, okay, come here, your podcast. Yeah, we listen to it. You're a clown, mate. Maybe. But yeah, you get haters. But you get people that love you too. I get people that love me. I get people, hey, there's a really good saying, and I've lived by this saying my entire life. And that saying is, there's gonna be 100 people that love me, and there's gonna be 10,000 people that hate me. Well, the saying actually is, there's gonna be 100 people that like me and 1 million people that hate me. I don't think that's a saying. But anyway, I had 2 goes at it. But anyway, let me try one more time. I'm gonna figure out the proper saying. Give me 2 seconds and I'll figure out the proper saying. It's from actually a really good philosopher, and I want to get it right.
My film ideas hit me in the most unusual ways. I could be walking down the street, see a poster for, advertising clothing, and there'll be something there, and it'll be like, ooh, there's a film idea. I've got about at least 80 film ideas written down. Am I going to make them all? I don't know. Doubt it. I'm going to make as many as I can, and I'll make all the better ones first. But there's an idea though, a thriller, because I love thrillers. A thriller about, someone bumping off cast members because they didn't get a role in a film. It's not a bad idea. I like that idea. I'm going to go with that idea. It's my idea. So while we're talking about Halloween and all the rest of it, so there's another one that I'm writing as well, where it opens up with a boy who's claustrophobic, and he gets locked into a cabinet in an old abandoned factory warehouse or something. He gets locked inside, and of course he ends up going insane. He's locked in during a game that these kids are playing, his friends are playing. Anyway, later on, these friends are all, they're all in group therapy. As they get older, they're in group therapy, and each of them suffers a phobia. Could be fear of heights, could be fear of water, could be fear of falling, could be anything. Fear of spiders, you name it. And each one of them is being picked off based on their fears. And I've started writing this one as well, guys, so can't touch that one. It's got a really nice twist to it, but it's homage to the films of the 80s, like Prom Night and The Prowler, or here in Australia it was called Rosemary's Killer. Don't know why it was called Rosemary's Killer, but it was called The Prowler in America. Homage to, Halloween and My Bloody Valentine and all of those sort of films, things from the films of the 80s. So, yeah, that's going to be a good one as well. Anyway, man, over to you, and we'll catch you next time.
I couldn't find it. I searched and I searched and I couldn't find it. So much for living by it. I can't even find it, can't even do it verbatim, don't know exactly who it's from. Yeah, and that's okay. I'll save it for the next podcast. I'm going to fucking tattoo it on my arm. Just how I've tattooed phenomenal and just how I've tattooed respect. Hey, I'm phenomenal. But I never said I was perfect. Hey man, yeah, I reckon you're an idea machine. You're a brainstorming machine, Brenton. I love you, buddy. I really do. It's always a blast, an absolute blast having you on the show. I'm very fortunate that I know you. I'm very fortunate that I can call you a friend. And you are the real deal. And everyone who knows me knows I'm not a kiss ass. Not once have I asked for any preferential treatment. And I tell you what, man, if I did look 20, even if I shaved the beard, if I did look 20, which I don't, I'd go for that role. All right. But yeah, can people not implode his inbox? Allow him to have a coffee in peace. You know, all right, he goes, okay, there's a role open. I get it. Everyone's a struggling actor, you know, and they want to get out there and get, you know, a lead role. And Iniquitous is going to be huge, you know, just like, you know, Charlie's Farm, you know, and Boar. But come on. Let the guy have a coffee. Let the guy go and eat something. You're going to sit there and you're going to go, come on. Come on. That's not how you act, people. All right, he put out something, a casting call, all right, on this edition of the Midnight Podcast. Okay, fair enough. Get your shit together. Pop him a nice, email. Once you have the email, you don't go to his private account and, you know, hey, but like we said, Brenton, that's how the industry is. That's how it's always going to be. Hey, man, the smart ones survive. The not so smart ones, the not so intelligent ones, the not so sophisticated ones, they perish, mate. People say it's hard to go to Hollywood and, you know, get, on television and film. It couldn't be more easier if you know what you're doing. If you're going to go into an audition and demand that you're the best person for the lead role, they're going to send you packing. But if you go there and you work your way up, cameo, bit part, guest role, going for a lead role, getting the lead role, and booyah, that's how it's done. But people think they can just storm into an audition room and say, I'm King fucking Dick and I deserve this fucking role. Well, unless you're planning on killing someone, dismembering his body and throwing him in a river, you're not going to have any chance. And you know what, Brenton, if you see the same guy come in for the second time around, for that, opened up vacant role, that's the killer, mate. Quietly go in a room and get on the phone and call the police, mate. Call the Western Australia police, because that's your man, that's your killer. Hey, we should do that into a movie. It's all right, man. You can take all the credit. I don't care, mate. All I want, I'll tell you what, okay, let's be fair. We're fair, gentlemen. We're fair. All I want is, let me think. We're going to find me, because I've always wanted to do this. Brenton. I want a cameo. Okay, I don't give a fuck if it's 5 words. I want a cameo in Not Iniquitous, the film after. Okay, if it's a gangster film. If you do a gangster film, I want to play one of the gangsters, mate. Cameo. More than happy with a cameo. I want that, and I want a lollipop. Okay, and I want a lollipop. And that's it. That's all I want. So yeah, the idea is yours, mate. Go for it. Copyright Brenton Foale 2018 from right now. It's yours, mate. That will make a good film. Yep, kills off all the people that get roles. That'll be a good film. That'll be an excellent film. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Thank you, Brenton, for joining us. You're a legend. You're a champion. Love you, buddy. This has been Johnny K and Brenton Foale. Happy Halloween. Take it easy. And if it's easy, Take it. I had it before. I had it before with a Happy Halloween. That was a perfect close, but no. Take it easy, guys. Well, I shouldn't say guys, because again, political correctness. Not guys, people. Take it easy, people. There we go.
What flavour lollipop do you want?